Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. Today is Wednesday, and on Wednesdays I always do my Q&A, where I basically answer my viewers' questions. So I have a list of all the questions from this week, from last week, I should say. And if you want to get your name shouted out in next week's video, what I recommend is comment below with your question, and I'll answer it next Wednesday. So let's get into this week's questions. I will answer kind of not in order because there's one in the middle that I'd like to do first. Comic Book Ninja wrote, thanks for answering my question. I love the Mexican vampirellas. So if you watched last week, I showed some Mexican vampirellas. They weren't really sanctioned by Warren, but they were Mexican covers and they were kind of special. So you should maybe want to check that video out. My next question is, who is your favorite horror artist or artists? Please show examples. So I actually have a whole bunch of horror artists that I like, but I don't necessarily have their artwork, which is kind of a little bit weird. But I'm going to show you a few things that I do have. And I'm going to show you a couple covers, and then I'm going to show you something kind of special that I did way back when. So when I say I don't have a lot of these horror covers, what I'm referring to is the EC covers. I loved a lot of the like Vault of Horror or Tales of the Crypt, those kind of covers. And a lot of the artists were pretty great. One of the artists particularly that I liked was Jack Davis. And this is one of the Tales of the Crypt that I do have. And I always liked this kind of, situation where it's one of these action kind of covers. And it's not going to go well for your heroine because like the axe is like flying right to her head. So to me, this is one of the great covers from EC. And I really do like Jack Davis's art. I like just the way he draws his women, and I think it looks really great. Another thing that I like in horror, and I don't know why, I don't know why I like these covers, but I have this thing where I like roller coaster covers, okay? And one of my favorite roller coaster covers, there's actually a few. There's one with Joker as well that I really like. But one that I like that's horror related, and I paid $300, you can see how much I paid, that's Canadian, is this one, Phantom Stranger #5. And it's just a great cover because it's got that 13, like unlucky 13. It's got the ghost like guy in the background, and it's like, it's kind of interesting. And the track is all broken. It kind of reminds me of House on Haunted Hill, where they had that, if you watch the modern video of that movie, there's a scene where it looks like the train's going to go off the track and everyone's going to die on the roller coaster. Yeah, you have to watch the movie to understand, but there's a scene like that, and this is what it reminds me of. But yeah, I like these kind of covers. I'm not quite sure who did the cover for this, but I enjoy this cover. But what I did do, and this was kind of a weird thing that I had when I was in university. Everyone else would put posters up all over their walls, and they would have like their Dali and the typical posters that you get in university. And I was into horror magazines and collecting Warren publishing. So what I did was I got photocopies of some of my favorite covers from Warren Publishing, and I'm going to show you my posters that I created, that you can see some of these covers that I liked. I'm not 100% sure of the artists, but this is the cover for Eerie #93. Yeah, I just thought it was a really great cover. You got these sort of Cavalier style vampires, and they're dragging the woman off into the crypt, basically. I kind of like that. Dracula's children alive, so they're Dracula's children. I like different characters within horror, like vampires and mummies. So this is another I thought this was a really great cover because it's like, you know, the mummy's attacking and the boy's like lighting the lighting the mummy on fire, and it's just a great action scene. So this is from Eerie number 30. So just a really, really great cover. I think it's actually 130, but yeah, just a really great cover. Maybe it's 30. I don't know. I think it's 130, but okay. I just had to think about that one. Okay. And then this is the cover from Eerie number 13. As I said, I like these kind of like ones where they really take advantage of that 13 element. And you got the skeleton head guy hanging hanging this guy. It looks kind of like that 50s style. I don't know. Just the way his clothes are. I think they look kind of 50s style. So yeah, I just thought it was kind of a cool cover. I'm going to show you some more. And then we got this one. I always like these possessed doll ones where the doll's like, drinking blood from the girl's neck. This is Creepy number 90. Just a really great cover. Really well rendered. I wish I knew who the artist was. I can't see who the artist is, but just a really great cover. I just thought it was really wonderful. Another one that's kind of interesting is Creepy 79. And this is just like a really, you know, classic skull cover in the background, and the girl's holding the the severed arm. You're not sure why she's holding a severed arm, and she looks terrorized. Just a really great cover. So Warren magazines are highly underrated. They're just really wonderful magazines. And another one I really liked was this cover. And this cover is, you know, typical like zombies coming in through the window, smashing through the window, and then grabbing the guy into the night. I just kind of like this. This is Eerie number 43. And it's just a really kind of cool cover. I'm not sure. Again, I really wish I knew the artist. It looks like Donin Suez, so I'm not sure who that is, but it's a really great cover. Just really great cover. And keeping with the different monsters, the general monsters, the big one would be the werewolf. So you got the werewolf, and you got this little innocent girl, and she's just like playing with her blocks and reading a book. And you got the werewolf coming in, the full moon in the background. I think this is San Julian, would be my guess. But yeah, just a really great cover. So this is Eerie number 48. And then the last one that I did a poster of is Eerie 62. And I just kind of like this whole circus theme. The girl's like, you know, who knows if she's alive or dead, just lying on the ground. And you got this monster guy coming towards her. And you got like, almost like, it looks like a hunchback or some kind of man in the background. I just thought it was really well done. I just like how they use the almost like archway of the circus tent or whatever it is, you know, in part, you know, to just sort of frame the picture. I thought that was really well done. So this is Eerie 62. And there was lots of really great covers from Eerie, Creepy, Vampirella. Lots of really great covers that I could have chosen. But these are ones I just happen to have kind of bigger sized ones because what I did is I photocopied it and then blew it up. And then I basically posted them all over my walls. I had like about 40 of them. Like these are the last ones I have. And I just posted them all over my walls. It looked kind of funny when people would come into my apartment and they would say, look, whoa, what's going on? But yeah, I really liked those ones. I thought they were pretty cool. So yeah. So that's that question. But other artists that I really like would be Kamen and Jack Kamen and Matt Baker, obviously. Vizetta, Richard Corbin. So there's a lot of really great artists that I really liked. Okay, so those are some examples of some artwork that I liked. Okay, so new question is Comic Samurai asked, great video. Have you ever thought of using a microphone so your audio is clearer? So I probably need what's called like a, like one of those wireless mics that I can attach onto my shirt. Because what I'm doing right now is I'm using my cell phone to record this video. And it's probably not the best way of doing it. And the acoustics are not necessarily the best in this room, but it is at least sound like barrier, so you're not hearing the noises of the house. But this is as good as it gets for me. So I'm sorry about the sound. People complain sometimes about the audio quality. I really do try. I will look into getting a wireless mic. But right now I'm just using my iPhone 12. So that's my audio system. So not the greatest system. But he also asked, what system do you use for organizing your comics? And there's a few systems that I use. So what I've done is I've basically, in terms of my room, you'll notice that all the slabs are on the wall. But I also have about another 300 slabs that are in boxes. So they're in boxes as well. And then I have about another 80, so I just have a crazy collection, 80 boxes, long boxes and short boxes of comics. And the way this room is designed is it's laid out with shelving, and each shelf can hold about 3 long boxes. And I just have lots of shelves. So it's just like a whole bunch of shelves with long boxes. And I can actually kind of, if I pick you guys up, I can, it's a little bit messy, so forgive the mess. You can see some of the long boxes and how I have it organized. So right now I have a lot of boxes on the floor, which I don't really want to show. It's just so messy right now. But this is how it's organized. And you can see how the room has like just slabs all over the place and long boxes everywhere and short boxes. So that's how it's organized in this room. And then I have a virtual organization. So what I do is I track all of the books that I've ever bought and where I bought them from. So eBay, Heritage Auctions, Comic Link, Comic Connect, My Comic Shop. I've kept records of all the books that I bought. And I have that sort of stored in this massive Excel file where I basically track, how much I've paid, what was so special about that book, and all the details about that comic. And I really need to take that and go one step further, which is to put it into some kind of like, online database like coverprice.com or something like that, where I use like some kind of tool to better organize my books and know what the values are over time. It's nice to know how things are changing. I was amazed. I bought a lot of comics last year, and pretty much they've gone up 2, 3, 4 times. It's pretty crazy. So I was fortunate in terms of when I bought a lot of the comics that I bought, that they've gone up a lot, and having that tracking would be really great. So that's how I organize right now, both physically and virtually. So hope that answers your questions. Okay, so next question is from Rocket Fighter 8. Over the years, I've collected various things besides comic books. Usually when I've talked about them with my friends or relatives, somebody always says, "You paid how much?" Now, I've limited my discussions to only those who are collectors themselves. What do you say when those belittle your hobby? So, with comics, that is definitely an issue. Like, there's a lot of people that don't get it. They just don't get the comic thing. Especially, you got some comics that are like 100,000 or some crazy amount. And, it's a piece of paper at the end of the day. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, I can read that comic online. Why would you pay so much just to have like a piece of paper, basically?" And what I do is I try to find out what they're interested in and what they would pay a lot for, because everybody's kind of a collector of something or other. Like my wife, she collects handbags, Louis Vuitton and the Hermes and all these different types of expensive bags, which I don't really understand. But I explain it in that way where she can understand. She says, well, these bags are worth a lot and they're going to go up in value and stuff. And I say the same thing about my comics, that I enjoy them, I look at them, I love my comics, just like she loves her bags. So I usually try to find out what that person loves in terms of their collecting, and try to relate it to that so that they can understand. And I do show that, actually sometimes if they're really, really interested in comics and, learning about that hobby, what I'll do is I'll show them how the prices have really grown, and I'll talk about some of the comics and how the prices have really changed, and show them that there is a real market for comics. And some people, it just goes over their head. They don't really get it. Like my parents are that way. They're like, they don't get it at all. They're like, oh, why are you wasting your money on that? You could do something better. But it is what it is. Some people will get it. Some people, no matter what you do, they just don't get it. It's, you gotta pick your battles sometimes. Okay, next question. Ronald Burgess asked, my fave is Frank Frazetta and his Conan covers. He really likes them. So I just wanted to comment about this. Actually, this is not a question necessarily. He just commented on the previous video where I showed a lot of the Frank Frazetta stuff. And actually I have some Frank Frazetta art. This is my dupe. I have 2 copies of this. This is my beaten up one where there's a chip out of the corner. I paid $4 originally for it, so but it's probably worth a lot more now. But Frank Frazetta was just a brilliant artist, and so he likes the Conan ones. I'm not necessarily a fan of the Conan covers, strangely enough. I do like if there's that female, like, damsel in distress element in the Conan covers, and I do like the kind of Dungeons and Dragons element, but not always a fan of the Conan covers. I don't know why. But I did like other Frazetta work. But I just wanted to comment on that. So he'll probably be upset. Hey, why didn't you like the Frazetta Conan covers? but there are some great ones. Don't get me wrong, but he's a great artist. Okay, so Richard Listeria? I'm probably brutalizing the guy's name. But how about doing videos such as top 10 name your artist comic covers? There's a treasure trove of artists that can be spotlighted. Do you even own the comics? You don't even have to own the comics. Images are readily available on the net. This would create some viewer participation and help grow the channel. So one of the things that I mentioned in my previous videos, like I mentioned this a lot, is that I really want to grow this channel. I really want to get more, impact or interest in the channel. And actually I have done top 10 comic spotlights on particular artists. I did one on Al Felstein, and I actually have plans to do one on Matt Baker and LB Cole. So I just wanted to kind of inform people that there is a bunch of videos that I'm working on. Actually, I have about 20 videos that are all like scheduled to go out over time. And some of the ones that are scheduled are artist related. So not necessarily top 10, but just showing, explaining about that artist and showing them their top covers and a little bit about the history of those artists. So I like doing those artist spotlights where you can really learn about the artist and learn about how collectible they are. So it is something that I'm working on. So if you like the top 10s, tell me in the comments below, which artists would you like me to maybe spotlight? I'm thinking like there's a lot of really great ones like Jack Kirby, Steranko, Todd McFarlane. These are modern ones that are really cool. So if you have a artist that you want me to do a spotlight or top 10 covers from, I can do that. And I would, if I don't have the comics myself, I will showcase them through their covers. The next question is from Michael L. And Michael L asked, question, Would you know the value of Captain Marvel Adventures 42? So Michael L. is actually my one Patreon, I guess. He's like, he's joined the members version of this channel. I only have one member, and it's Michael L. So thank you, Michael L. And I basically answered his question before, but I'm going to answer it for you guys. And this is kind of something that you can apply to most of the Captain Marvels. Now, there are a few Captain Marvel adventures which are keys that are pretty pricey. I'm thinking like 18, 22, 26. Those are all major keys. Obviously, number one, major key. But there are a lot of comics in the series, in the run, like 100 and something, 140, I believe, or no, 150, I believe. And a lot of them are not really that pricey. So what you'll find is the lower grade ones usually will sell for anywhere from $50 to $150. And the mid-grade ones will usually sell for $200 to $400. Now, in the case of the high grades, because these books, like Captain Marvel Adventures, at the time, this is during the 40s and early 50s, it was actually more like they produced more of them than Superman. It was a bigger comic. It was more popular. And what happened is there's just a lot of issues. Like most of them are really beaten up. So finding the lower grades, you can get them fairly affordably. Like, as I said, $50 maybe. But the high grades are extremely rare because they're older books. And as I said, they really didn't take care of them. Most of the Captain Marvel adventures went to young kids that would just beat them up. They would roll them up and put them in their pocket, that kind of level. And so not many survived. So for example, as I was saying, like the mid grades you can get for $200 to $400. And I'm talking, when I say mid grade, I'm saying up to maybe a 7, maybe even an 8. But a 9.4 in Captain Marvel Adventures 42, for example, sold for $3,444. So you can see the huge price difference with grade. Okay, so he also asks, I might have to get some water here. He also asks, thanks for the shout out. Do you think Heritage Auctions is worth the extra fees you have to pay? And this is one of the mistakes that people make with Heritage Auctions. So, I mean, there's two sides to it, right? One is as a seller, if you want to sell through Heritage Auctions, is it worth that, just auction fees and stuff like that? And probably it's one of the best places to sell your comics. You're going to get your premium dollar on the books. And for the more expensive books, it's probably the place to go. eBay, you don't generally do that well on the more premium books. But as a buyer, what ends up happening is, let's say the book is $100. Well, Heritage Auctions that's the auction price, but they'll add what's called a buyer's premium. They'll put like BP, and that's an extra 20% above that price. So you actually, instead of paying that $100, which is what you bid, you actually pay $120. And that can be annoying because if you don't suspect that that there's going to be that buyer's premium, then you're paying a lot more than you intend for a lot of the auctions. And when I first went on to Heritage, I was overpaying on so many comics because I thought, the auction price that I was paying was the actual price, but it wasn't. So what you have to do is, in your mind, have that buyer's premium already calculated so that you know that there's that extra 20%. And a lot of buyers, I've noticed, will kind of calculate that in when they're buying the comics through Heritage. So generally, the books will sell cheaper than what you would expect, but you add that 20%, and usually then they're around fair market value or a little bit above. So You just have to have that buyer's premium in your mind when you're buying, and just bid accordingly. So be really careful about that. Remember, it's an extra 20%. Just be careful, and for the most part, you can do well. I actually find that Heritage is slightly cheaper than eBay. So, but it depends on the book. If it's a pedigree, yeah, you're gonna pay crazy amounts. But if it's a general comic, you'll do quite well on Heritage. Okay, so I definitely do think Heritage is worth the money. Okay, John Gabriel asked, as somebody who has actually read the SOTI book, what, in your opinion, is the biggest misconception among comic fans about the SOTI books? Okay, so SOTI is the seduction of the innocent, and I actually go on about the seduction of the innocent quite a lot because I like collecting. That's one of the collections that I'm going for, is all of these books that were mentioned within the seduction of the innocent. And the seduction of the innocent was written by Frederick Wortham, and basically what he wrote was about how comics had a negative influence on children and were maybe potentially causing juvenile delinquency and causing the problems that were being experienced during the 40s and 50s within the youth. Actually, I think youth back then are probably better than the youth nowadays, but that's beside the point. Um, at the time, though, they were very paranoid about juvenile delinquency. And Wortham, many people don't understand this about Wortham. He was a psychiatrist. He dealt with youth. He was actually, going and meeting with, you know, these kind of delinquents, people that had either committed a crime or had some kind of mental problems, and he was dealing with them. So it wasn't like he was just, some random guy comes up with a crazy theory and he, wrote a book about it. It wasn't that way. This guy was an established psychologist. He knew his stuff in terms of, the science, and he had written multiple books. This was not his first book. He had written multiple books, and he was a very well learned man. And that's one of the misconceptions people have, that this guy was just some nut, and that he's just like against comics and, doing his thing for that. But he was more than that. I do believe that he might have been influenced to negatively write about comics. But I think what it was he did have this opinion. He saw a lot of these youth and they were reading comics, and he just made the connection. He said, these people, these comics are what is causing this behavior. And it didn't matter that if you looked at the stats, you'd see that lots of kids read comics, and it had nothing to do whether they became like crazy or whatever. A lot of them were normal, and they would read the same comics. If you're crazy, you're crazy, sometimes. But he really did feel that there was a connection between the comics and the behavior. And a lot of people see him in this way, that he really did have a very negative impact on comics. And he was the one that basically caused the Comic Code Authority, which ended a lot of the artistic and creative freedoms of the writers of comics. So, with that, a lot of comic fans do not like Wortham. He's a villain. And, I think that's a little short-sighted, because I do believe he was trying to do something that he thought was good. And I think that's generally a really important lesson that we can learn from Wortham, that good intentions can often lead to, it could pave that road to hell, really. And it happens, I see it all the time, even now, where people, they think that they're doing something right. They're thinking that they're doing something that's helping others, protecting others, and it causes more problems for those people than had they just not stuck their nose into other people's business. And that's really one of the lessons that we should learn from Wortham. However, it's one of those lessons I feel like no one ever seems to ever learn, and people just keep on repeating that history of you know trying to control other people and push an agenda of that control, and it always has a bad result. So that would be my opinion of Wortham, that he did have valid ideas behind what he was looking at. He did look at a lot of comics that you could validly say, are these a little bit extreme? Um, you know, that's, yeah, I don't know. I kind of wish we didn't have that era. I wish we had just sort of said that freedom of speech was more important than the fear of potential damage from these books. But that's the way it is. You got to learn from history sometimes. Okay, the last question is from Kiwi, and Kiwi asks, "Here's my question. Not that you have, not that now, not okay. Sorry. Now that you have a new background, I would like to know what 3 books from your background would you pick if you had to destroy them?" Okay, so this is one of those questions that I've heard multiple variations on, where let's say there's a house fire and you had to grab 3 comics to save, and you could only pick 3 and you grab 3 and you'd run off and the rest would burn, but you'd at least have those 3. QE's doing it a little different, where you have to pick 3 and destroy them. So looking behind me, these are all my favorite books. So, but what I would do is I would pick 3 of my crappier ones. So I have I'll show you what I mean by that. So I have this book. This book is a really cheap book. It's in really low grade. It's one I like. Actually, I really love this cover. It's a great cover. I would burn this one. If I had to burn 3, to save the rest kind of idea, this would be one of the ones that I could burn, because it's one that I can easily replace and probably get a better grade. I paid less than $100 for this. So, that's one of the ones I would burn. So, if I knew that this situation was going to happen, what I'd probably do is put all my crappier books that I don't really care about in behind me. But that'd be one. 2 others would be, I don't know. That's kind of hard. I have some, here, I'm going to show you. I'm going to move over here. You can see, right there. I have a bunch of Warlocks. I know that those have recently gone up in value. I'd probably maybe choose a couple of those ones, maybe the cheaper of the 2 of those. I'm not super attached to Adam Warlock. I just think, it's cool to have that nice collection of his first appearances. But those ones I could probably replace pretty easily. So those are the kind of books that I'd burn. Obviously a lot of the other ones would be pretty hard to replace. Some of the editions, on the census, there's some of these have less than 10 on the census. It's just they're super rare. I'm never going to replace them. But some of these are common books, and the Warlocks are pretty common, so they'd be easy to replace. So maybe that's what I would choose for that. So that has been my weekly Q&A. I hope you enjoy these videos. I'd love to hear people's feedback. What do you think I can do to get more subscribers? I really want to build this channel up. I have this weird goal, and I kind of want to tell you this before I end the video. And this is kind of cool. It's something it's a bit of an ego thing, so it's kind of silly, but there's a Comic-Con coming up in October. Okay, so it's a month away, basically. And I want to be at that point in my I don't know, I want to say celebrity status, but it's not really, I'm not a celebrity. You know what I'm saying? I just want to be well known enough that when I go to the Comic-Con, I can be semi-cool. you know, even like I don't have to be super cool like a Comic Tom or something like that, but I mean just semi-cool where I can say, "Oh, you know, maybe like use that to get like a little discount on like some of the vendors or something." Something cool. Like I'm really looking forward to this Comic-Con because it's 2 months away. And if I had maybe 2,000 subscribers, I think I'd be cool enough that I can maybe, leverage that to get a little maybe discounts on some of the at some of the vendors, or get some recognition, or something. I don't know. It'd just be cool. I just something I'm thinking about. I just I don't know. So I'd really like to build this channel to get to that level where I have a bigger following, and anything that my audience, you guys watching this, can do to help, I really appreciate. I actually really appreciate that people watch my videos at all. I'm so blessed to really have 1,000 fans at this point, or 1,000 subscribers, not necessarily fans, but people that are watching my videos. I really enjoy that. And I enjoy making these videos. So if you enjoy watching these videos, thank you again. And please like, comment, and subscribe, and ask that question because I'll answer it next week. Thanks again.